and subscribe, because this right here, this is the stuff they don't teach you. This is the psychology they hope you never figure out. And trust me, you'll want to stick around till the end of this one. The power that silence holds, it's not just about them, it's about you reclaiming your energy. Now, hey folks, imagine this for a second. You've been a steady flame in someone's life, always there, always warm. Maybe they didn't pay much attention to it. They walked past, they shrugged it off, maybe even took that warmth for granted. But then, you snuff it out. The room grows colder, darker. Suddenly, that flame that barely got a glance becomes the one thing they crave. That's what your attention is like. When it's given too freely, it blends into the background. But the moment you pull it back, the moment you walk away, that's when the obsession begins. And here's the lie most people believe. They think losing someone's attention happens all at once. Nope. It's a slow burn, a day-by-day unraveling. It's like a quiet tide pulling back from the shore. At first, they don't even notice. Maybe they tell themselves you'll come back, that this is just a phase. But with each passing day, the silence grows louder, their thoughts spiral deeper. Your absence becomes a mirror they can't avoid. And this isn't about being heartless, it's about being powerful, stoic. Because as Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Folks, it's time to break the lies we've been told. You've been led to believe that silence is weakness, that pulling away means losing ground. But no, silence is strength. Detachment is power. You're not playing games, you're protecting your energy. You're not chasing, you're centering yourself. Every day you stay grounded in your stillness, they're feeling that shift more and more. The world tells you to react, to explain yourself, to prove your worth. But Stoicism teaches you to stand firm like a mountain while the winds rage around you. Because the winds don't shape the mountain shapes the winds. And let me sprinkle a little humor in here, because I know some of you are thinking, but what if they forget me? Trust me, they won't. Trying to forget someone whose absence hits like thunder after lightning. That's like trying to forget you ever tasted chocolate or smelled fresh rain. Impossible. Your calm, your discipline, it leaves a mark that no storm can wash away. So stick with me, my friends. We're about to walk through the day-by-day unraveling of how losing your attention flips their world upside down. This isn't just about understanding them, it's about mastering yourself. Because once you see how silence works, once you feel the power of stepping back, you'll never give your energy away so freely again. Now, if you're ready to reclaim your peace, type "Silence is power" in the comments right now. Let the world see where you stand. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 1, day 1 to 2. The void begins. We don't appreciate the flame until the darkness falls. That's the cruel beauty of human nature, isn't it? We overlook the warmth, the steady glow, the calm presence, until it's gone. Until the room grows cold, the shadows stretch longer, and we're left fumbling for something we never thought we'd miss. This is where it all begins, my friends. The first 2 days after you pull back your attention. The days when they tell themselves, it's nothing. They'll be back. But something deeper is already happening. A void is opening and they feel it. Picture this. Imagine standing on the shore, watching the tide pull away. At first, you barely notice the water receding, but the longer you stand there, the farther it drifts, leaving behind cracked earth, exposed stones, emptiness where there used to be movement. That's what your silence feels like on day 1, not a crashing wave, but the pulling back of the tide, subtle, easy to dismiss, but make no mistake, The ocean is never gone, it's gathering power. Now, in those first 24 hours, they might brush it off. They'll tell themselves they're probably just busy, focused on work, caught up in something. The human mind is a master at self-soothing, at explaining away discomfort. But the lie has already started to crack. That usual good morning text? Missing. That late night reply? Silent. Your steady presence, the one they expected, has vanished, not with a slam of the door, but with the calm, deliberate closing of it, and that's what unsettles them most. Here's what they won't tell anyone. When the phone buzzes, they hope it's you. They instinctively check for your name, but when it's not there, that's when the fear begins to whisper. What if they don't come back? What if they've moved on? It's too soon to panic, at least on the surface. But beneath the facade, there's a seed of doubt. And doubt, left unchecked, grows wild. Let's break the biggest lie right here. Out of sight, out of mind. No, that's not how attention works. Out of sight, yes, but into the mind, even deeper. When someone has grown used to your attention, your steady energy, they don't just forget it when it's gone. They start to feel the shape of its absence. Like a phantom limb, your presence leaves an imprint, and the quieter you become, the louder that imprint gets. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And right now, their thoughts are swirling with questions. They may not show it, not yet. They might even post something light-hearted, laughing with friends, convincing the world and themselves that everything is fine. But inside, the tide has shifted. Day by day, they'll feel it more. This is where emotional discipline matters, my friends. This is where Stoicism shines. Because here's the truth, they're not used to losing your attention. They assumed it was infinite, that you'd always be there, ready to reply, to engage, to explain. But now, you've reclaimed your energy, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. You've stopped pouring into a cup that never seemed to fill, and in doing so, you've reminded them, attention is earned, not owed. But let me ask you this. Why is it so hard to pull back? Why does silence feel like a struggle at first? Because we've been conditioned to believe that validation comes from being available, that if we're not present, we'll be forgotten. But Stoicism breaks that lie. It teaches us that our value doesn't diminish when we step back. In fact, it becomes clearer, to us and to them. Think about it. Have you ever felt the urge to check in, to send that "just thinking about you" message? That's fear talking, fear of being forgotten. But here's the truth. You are not forgotten. You are remembered more clearly in your absence than in your presence. Because absence creates space. And space, it forces reflection. So as they stand at the shore, watching the tide pull farther away, they'll start to feel it. The void, the lack, the realization that the steady flame they ignored is now the warmth they crave. Stay with me, my friends. This is just the beginning. The void is opening, and they feel it more with each passing hour. But the deeper unraveling, that's still to come. If you're standing firm in your stillness, type "I am the calm" in the comments right now. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you've chosen power over panic. Day 3 to 4, the search for signs. Silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. But here's the twist. The answers aren't comforting. They sting, they swirl, they multiply. This is where the game quietly shifts. The first couple of days after you withdrew, they played it cool, told themselves you were just busy, maybe taking space, but you'd come back around. But now, the silence feels heavier. It presses down like humidity before a storm. The air feels thicker. They can't ignore it anymore. Now the mind gets loud. Ever watch someone scan a crowd looking for a familiar face? That quick, frantic darting of the eyes, hoping, searching, doubting. That's what's happening in their mind right now. Only they're not scanning a room, they're scanning for you. Every place where your presence once lived, your messages, your stories, your updates. They're combing through it all, desperate for a sign, a digital breadcrumb. Any proof that you still think about them, that you haven't let go. But here's the thing, when they check, they don't find chaos. They don't see someone unraveling, they see calm. And that shakes them, because they weren't prepared for you to stand steady. They thought pulling back would be a phase for you, a temporary retreat. They didn't expect stillness. They didn't expect you to move forward without leaving the door cracked open. The mind doesn't like unanswered questions, my friends. So when they see your posts, if you even post, it becomes a riddle they can't solve. You're out there, living, steady, composed, not sending cryptic messages, not begging for attention, not playing games. And that absence of noise, it's louder than shouting. And here's where fear takes the wheel. Are they really moving on? Did I lose them for good? Is there someone else? These questions loop like a song stuck in their head. Day 3, day 4, the questions get louder. The silence starts to sound like a statement. Let's crush a lie right here. The world tells you that the louder you are, the more they'll hear you. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Silence doesn't whisper, it roars. It roars because it leaves space for the other person to hear their own thoughts, to face their own fears. Marcus Aurelius knew this when he said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And right now, their thoughts are painting pictures of you they never saw before, strong, grounded, detached. But let me ask you, why does this stage feel so fragile for them? Why do they start to search so frantically? Because deep down, they expected your attention to be endless. They expected it to flow, like water from a faucet, on demand. The moment it stops, panic sets in, because now they have to sit with the possibility that the well might not refill. Imagine just for a second someone walking through a familiar path, a forest trail they've walked 100 times. But now, suddenly, the path is blocked. The trail ends. The familiar is gone. That's what they're feeling, lost in a space they once navigated without thought. And what's most unsettling for them? It's not the absence itself. It's what the absence implies. That you've taken back your energy. That you're not waiting. That maybe, just maybe, they're no longer part of your focus. And that thought, it terrifies them. But let's bring this back to you. This is your moment of discipline. This is where most people fold, where the temptation creeps in to check in, to break the silence, to offer that little lifeline. But not you, because you know something they're just now realizing. Attention is valuable, and when you give it too freely, it loses its power. You've chosen to step back, to stand still, to let the silence do what no amount of chasing ever could. And as they search for signs, as they comb through your presence, trying to read between lines that aren't even there, you remain steady, not out of cruelty, out of clarity. This is the part where the search turns to obsession, where curiosity becomes compulsion. But the unraveling, it's just getting started. So if you're holding that line, standing firm in your stillness, type "I am steady" in the comments. Not for them, for you, to show yourself, to remind yourself that discipline is power. Stay tuned. The spiral goes deeper from here. Days 5 to 6. The overthinking spiral. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. But the mind, oh, the mind is a ruthless storyteller. Give it silence, and it will spin 1,000 narratives, none of them based on truth, all of them crafted from fear. This is where the real storm begins. Day 5 and 6, when that simple absence turns into a haunting presence. They can't escape it now. The initial confidence they clung to, the belief that you'd return, that this was just a phase, is crumbling. And in its place, overthinking. The kind that steals sleep, gnaws at peace, and rewinds every moment you shared. Imagine being trapped in a hall of mirrors, every reflection distorted, every angle bending reality just enough to confuse you. That's what's happening inside their head right now. They're walking through that maze, trying to piece together why you're silent. Every word you spoke, every glance you gave, suddenly becomes a puzzle piece. Was that last conversation colder than I thought? Why did they pause before saying goodbye? Did I miss the signs? It's a loop, an exhausting, relentless loop. They replay your voice, they study your tone, they dissect your last message like it holds the key to your absence. But the more they search, the more lost they become, because there's no satisfying answer in this spiral, only fear dressed as curiosity. Here's the lie they've been telling themselves, folks. I'm over it. That lie? It doesn't hold up under the weight of silence, because silence doesn't argue. It doesn't defend itself. It just is. And that space? It forces them to face what they've been avoiding, that you mattered more than they admitted. Think about this. Ever try to ignore a dripping faucet? At first it's easy, but over time, that steady drip becomes impossible to ignore. That's how your absence feels right now. Every silent day is a drop, echoing louder, filling the room until it's all they can hear. But here's where the fear sharpens. When they start wondering if someone else is hearing your voice, feeling your presence. Are they giving their attention to someone new? Have I been replaced? These thoughts aren't gentle. They aren't rational. They're desperate. And desperation, it fuels obsession. And what makes it worse? You're not performing. You're not out there posting cryptic messages or trying to make them jealous. That would be too easy to explain away. No, you're doing something far more unsettling. You're living in peace. You've stepped away quietly, not to punish, not to provoke, but to reclaim your energy, to let the silence do what words never could. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." But let's be clear, this isn't about revenge. This is about rising above, about choosing self-respect over validation. You're not reacting, you're reflecting. You've embraced the power of detachment. But why, my friends, does this feel so heavy for them? Because they never expected to lose access to your attention. They never thought you'd actually let go. They assumed your energy was endless, that your presence was permanent. But now, they're learning the hardest truth. Nothing is guaranteed, not even your attention. Here's where you face your own test, because in these moments, it's tempting to reach back, to check in, to see how they're handling the distance. But remember, your silence is your strength. You're not playing a game. You're holding a boundary. You're showing that your peace isn't for sale. Think about it like this. You're the calm in the center of a storm. They're spinning, swirling, caught in the winds of their own overthinking. But you've planted your feet. You've anchored yourself. And the stronger the storm gets, the steadier you stand. And that steadiness? It terrifies them. Because while they're trapped in the what-ifs, you've already moved on to the what's next. Seneca's words echo here. We suffer more in imagination than in reality, and right now they're suffering in a reality they built in their mind. But you've chosen clarity over chaos. If you're standing strong in your silence, type "I am grounded" in the comments, not to shout, not to prove anything, but to remind yourself that peace is power. Stay with me, my friends, the unraveling. It's only getting deeper from here. Day 7 to 8, the emotional baiting begins. He who angers you conquers you. But here's the twist. This isn't just about anger. It's about control, about pulling strings, seeing if you'll dance. Day 7 and 8 mark the shift from quiet overthinking to subtle provocation. They've felt the silence creeping in like fog, clouding their thoughts. They've replayed the past, searching for signs. But now they need a reaction. Any reaction. And that's where the emotional baiting starts. Picture this, a fisherman casting a line into still waters, waiting for even the slightest nibble. That's what they're doing now. Only the bait? It's not worms or lures. It's carefully curated selfies, those angled just right, lips curled into a smile that's a little too bright, eyes sparkling with just enough mischief to catch your attention. The caption? "Oh, that's the hook. Finally choosing myself. Some people lost me when I was worth keeping," or that oh-so-subtle song lyric that just happens to mirror something you once said. But here's the truth, my friends. This isn't healing. This is a performance, a test. They're tossing emotional grenades into the air, waiting to see if you'll catch one, if you'll flinch, if you'll bite. Because even a sarcastic comment, a passive like, a cryptic post in return, it's all proof to them that they still matter in your world, that they still have influence, that your attention, though quiet, can still be triggered. Let's break the lie right here. They've moved on. That's the mask they wear. The curated feed, the staged laughter, the new people, the glittering nightlife. It all says, "I'm thriving." But beneath that, there's a whisper. Do they still care? Because if they really moved on, there would be no need to bait the hook. And let me ask you, have you ever fallen into this trap? Seen a post and wondered, is this about me? That's the trick. The uncertainty keeps you wondering, but not this time, because you know what's happening. You've seen behind the curtain. This isn't about genuine connection, it's about control. Marcus Aurelius knew this game when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's what's required of you now. Emotional discipline, the ability to see the bait and walk past it, not out of pride, out of peace. And let's be honest, this is where most people stumble. This is where the temptation creeps in to respond, to send a message, to like a post, to throw a stone back into the pond just to see if it makes a ripple. But here's the truth. Your silence is the ripple, it's the wave. The fact that you haven't reacted, that's the loudest statement you could ever make. Think of it like this. You've stepped off the chessboard. You're no longer playing the game. And while they move their pieces, trying to draw you back into the strategy, you've already won because you're not playing. And that confuses them, frustrates them, makes them cast their line again, maybe with a different bait, maybe with a more direct approach. But remember this, you are the calm in the storm. Their actions don't define your reactions. Their noise doesn't disturb your peace. You've built a foundation too solid to shake. Why is this so hard for them? Because they expected predictability. They expected the old you, the one who would respond, who would engage, who would validate their worth. But now, they're meeting someone new, someone who doesn't need to prove anything, someone who knows that peace is more powerful than a reply. And as the baiting continues, as the photos get flashier, the captions get sharper, the songs get sadder or sassier, they'll start to realize you're not coming back to play. You've chosen something else, freedom. So, if you're standing firm, seeing the bait but not biting, type "I control my peace" in the comments. Show the world and yourself that you're not here to react. You're here to rise. And remember, folks, this storm, it's only getting wilder from here. Stick with me. The unraveling has only begun. Days 9 to 10, the comparison phase begins. The mind, once stretched by a new experience, never returns to its original dimensions. But here's the catch. When the experience is you, when your presence has been felt, and your absence now lingers like a shadow, there is no going back for them. The old reality, the one where they could predict your moves, feel secure in your attention, take your energy for granted, that world is gone. And what's left? Comparison. Day 9 and 10, my friends, are when they step into the comparison phase, and this is where the unraveling gets personal. Imagine standing in front of two mirrors. One shows your reflection in perfect clarity, every detail sharp. The other, a phogsos, todzocult kep. You know which one feels right. That's what they're feeling now. They go out. They dress up, spray on that scent they know people compliment. Maybe they meet someone new, someone eager, someone ready to laugh at their jokes, to compliment their every word. On the surface, it looks like they've moved on. But something feels off. It's not the same. The energy doesn't match. The conversations don't flow as easily. The laughter, it lands flat. It's all a little too forced, too scripted, because they're comparing. Whether they admit it or not, they're comparing everyone to you. See, they thought replacing your attention would be simple. Just find someone new. Get back out there, distract themselves. But what they didn't account for was the depth you brought, the steady calm, the way you never needed to compete for their attention because your presence spoke for itself. You didn't scramble for validation, you didn't perform, you just were. And now, in a sea of noise, your stillness feels rare. Let's break this lie apart. Anyone can replace anyone. It sounds good, doesn't it? Feels empowering on the surface. But truth, some energies can't be replicated. Some connections can't be replaced by simply filling space. Your presence was never about volume. It was about depth. And that depth, it leaves a mark. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." And right now, their estimate of you is rising. They didn't value your calm when they had it. But now, when the laughter of others feels hollow, when the attention of new faces feels shallow, the contrast becomes painful. Imagine drinking from a glass of water every day, simple, pure, reliable. Then one day it's gone, and you're offered a sugary drink. At first it tastes exciting, but after a while, it leaves you thirstier than before. That's what they're realizing now. The surface-level replacements don't quench the deeper need. And here's where the spiral tightens. They don't just miss you, they miss how they felt around you. The safety, the stability, the calm. You didn't need to raise your voice. You didn't need to over-explain. You were the anchor in the storm. And now, there's no anchor, only waves. But let's talk about you for a moment. This phase, this is where your discipline gets tested, because maybe you catch a glimpse of them with someone new. Maybe you see the posts, the smiles, the celebrations. But remember this, my friends, it's a performance, and performances are for audiences. You're no longer in the audience. You've left the theater altogether. You've chosen peace over participation. You've stepped back, not because you're weak, but because you've grown too strong for the stage they're playing on. And that's what rattles them most. They feel the weight of your absence in every encounter that falls short. They feel it in the small talk that never turns deep, in the laughter that feels rehearsed, because no one else can mirror your steadiness. And the harder they try to replace it, the clearer it becomes that you were the exception, not the rule. Let me ask you, have you ever tried to replace something real with something convenient? How long did it take for you to realize that surface-level distractions don't heal deep wounds? That's where they are now, facing that truth, day by day. If you're holding strong in your lane, letting the comparison do its work without stepping back into the chaos, type, "I am irreplaceable" in the comments. Not to boast, but to remind yourself that true value doesn't chase validation. Stay with me, my friends. The unraveling only deepens from here. Days 11 to 12, the nostalgia trap. Nothing haunts us like the things we didn't say. And here's where it really starts to sting. Not in the loud, chaotic ways of the world outside, but in those quiet, private corners of their mind where your memory lingers. Day 11 and 12 are when the floodgates open. Not of anger or denial, but of nostalgia. Those little moments they brushed off, the memories they thought they'd filed away. They all come rushing back, uninvited, but undeniable. It sneaks up on them. One song, one place, one random object that reminds them of you, and suddenly they're back in a moment they thought they'd forgotten. The late-night conversations where words weren't needed because the silence between you spoke volumes. The small gestures, maybe you brought them coffee just the way they liked it, without asking. Or that inside joke that no one else ever quite got. Those things seemed so small before, but now, they're massive. They carry weight. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been hit by a memory so vividly it stopped you in your tracks? That's what's happening to them now. But here's the difference. You've processed. You've reflected. You've chosen peace. They haven't. They're still fighting it. They might even bring it up casually. A "remember that time" text. Maybe they're not reaching out directly, but posting a photo from a shared memory, tagging a place you both went. They'll frame it like nostalgia, but really, it's a signal, a flare sent up into the night sky, hoping you'll see it and respond. Because they aren't just reminiscing, they're reaching. And here's where the lie starts to crack. I've moved on. No. If they truly moved on, there wouldn't be this need to relive the past, to revisit the comfort that your presence gave them. This isn't closure, it's clinging. Because nostalgia is sneaky. It paints the past with soft colors, blurs the rough edges, and makes the memories feel sweeter than they were. But you see through that. You don't live in rewind. You honor the past, but you don't retreat into it. Because Stoicism teaches us this powerful truth. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. And your thoughts? They're anchored in the present, in what is, not what was. See, this is the part where they expect you to crack, where they think, if I just remind them of the good times, they'll come back. But that's the trap. They're pulling on the emotional threads, hoping to unravel the calm you've built. But here's the thing, they don't realize you've changed. You're not the person they remember. You've grown beyond those moments. But why is this phase so hard for them? Because nostalgia is safe. It's familiar. It lets them avoid the discomfort of now. They can escape into what could have been instead of facing what is. The fact that your silence speaks louder than any memory. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out over the ocean. The waves crash, the wind howls, but there's beauty in the distance. That's how they see the past right now, distant, beautiful, untouchable. But you're already walking away from the edge. You've turned inland towards solid ground. And that's what they didn't expect. They thought memories would pull you back, that reliving the moments would reopen doors. But you've closed those doors with grace. You've chosen to build, not rewind. And let me tell you, that shakes them, because nostalgia doesn't fade quickly. It lingers, it simmers, and the more they feel it, the more they realize they've been holding on to the idea of you, not the reality. So, stay firm. When the remember when messages come, when the old photos resurface, smile, but don't step back. Acknowledge the past for what it was, but don't get trapped in it. You've done the work. You've healed forward, not backward. If you're standing strong in the face of nostalgia, type "I choose now" in the comments. Let the world know that you live in the present, not the past. Stay with me, my friends, because what happens next? That's when the storm reaches its peak. Days 13 to 14, the breaking point. Obsession sets in. The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. And by day 13 and 14, those chains, they're heavy, dragging, wrapping tighter around their mind, around their chest. This is where everything they've been holding back starts to spill over. The confidence they wore like armor, cracked. The cool indifference they posted about, shattered. Now it's just them, and the weight of your absence pressing down hard, suffocating the stories they once told themselves. Up until now, they've played it safe. Hints here, subtle posts there, emotional bait cast out like fishing lines, hoping you'd bite. But your silence, it stood strong. And now, obsession sets in. This is no longer curiosity. It's not even about pride. It's about survival. Their mind becomes a loop with no exit. And the soundtrack? You. Imagine a record player, the needle stuck, playing the same 5-second clip over and over. That's their mind right now. Every memory of you, every unanswered question, spinning on repeat. They can't turn it off. The silence? It's too loud now. The space you left behind has become a mirror, reflecting every doubt they buried, every fear they ignored. But here's the truth they don't want to face. The power dynamic has flipped. The one who was once seeking now stands still. The one who once gave endlessly now gives nothing. And that vacuum, it consumes them. Let's break the lie they're still clinging to. I have control. No. They lost control the moment they underestimated your silence. They thought it was a tactic, a phase. But this was a decision. A choice to pull your energy back where it belongs, to yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And their thoughts right now? They're anything but calm. They're haunted. They're scattered. They're desperate for relief from the silence. But relief doesn't come. The obsession only deepens. Now they start reaching. Not always directly. Sometimes it's more bait. Sometimes it's a late-night view of your stories, the kind that lingers too long. Sometimes it's a slip, an accidental like on a post from months ago. Their actions betray them. The obsession leaks out. Here's the part they didn't expect. You've changed. You're no longer the person who would have jumped at the first sign of attention. You're not waiting for breadcrumbs. You're not seeking validation in old patterns. You've grown roots. Think of yourself as a mountain now, unmoving, steady. The storms swirl around you, but you don't shift. You don't chase. You've reclaimed your energy, your space. And that space, it's sacred. But let's be honest, my friends, this is where the temptation creeps back in. Seeing them spiral, it's hard not to reach out, not to soften, not to give them the comfort they once had. But remember this, your peace isn't theirs to borrow anymore. They have to face what your absence revealed. They depended on your presence to feel steady. And now that it's gone, they're unraveling. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands, watching it slip through your fingers, no matter how tightly you squeeze. That's them now, grasping for control, for connection, for closure, but finding none. Because you're not playing, you've stepped off the board. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." And that's what you've chosen. Freedom from cycles, freedom from games, freedom from needing their validation. And as they spin, as they spiral, the realization hits hardest. You didn't need them to close the door. You became the door. So if you're standing firm, even as they scramble, even as obsession takes hold, type, "I am free" in the comments. Show yourself. Show the world that you're not just surviving. You're thriving in your silence. Stay with me, my friends. The storm might be raging on their side, but on your side, the skies are clear. Days 15 to 16. The silent realization. They've lost the upper hand. Power over others is weakness disguised as strength. Eckhart Tolle. But when you reclaim power over yourself, that's when the game changes. That's when the mask cracks. And by day 15 and 16, they begin to feel something they never expected. The loss of control. The upper hand they believed they had. The quiet confidence that you would always circle back, that your attention was a guarantee. It's slipping away, not with a loud crash, but like sand sliding between their fingers. It's subtle at first, but unavoidable. That silent realization creeps in when they least expect it. Maybe it's late at night when the noise of the day has died down. Maybe it's when they check their phone one more time, hoping to see your name and find nothing but silence staring back. This isn't the storm anymore. This is the aftermath, when they start piecing together the truth they tried to avoid. You're not coming back the same, if you're coming back at all. Up until this point, they held on to a false sense of control. The idea that they could pull you back in with just the right words, just the right look, just the right post. They told themselves, "All I have to do is reach out and they'll fold." But you haven't folded. You've stood still. You've watched, not with bitterness, but with clarity. You've let the silence do what explanations never could. Let me break the lie right here. The person who cares less holds the power. No, that's not power. That's fear in disguise. Real power? It's self-control, it's self-respect. It's knowing that your energy, your peace, your attention are not for sale. That they're earned, not demanded. And now they know it too. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is in your power to withdraw yourself whenever you desire." Perfect tranquility within consists in the good ordering of the mind, and that's exactly what you've done. You've withdrawn, not in anger, not in spite, but in tranquility. And now they feel the weight of it. Let's talk about their thoughts right now. This is when they start playing the what-if game. What if they never reach out again? What if this is really over? What if they've actually moved on? The questions loop endlessly because they're built on a foundation of uncertainty. And uncertainty, it burns. Imagine standing in front of a locked door, knowing the key used to be yours, but now the lock has changed. That's what they feel now. The key, the attention they once used so easily, is useless. The door has shifted, and behind it, you've built a world they no longer have access to. But let's turn this inward for a moment. This is your test too, because in these moments, the pull to prove your power can be strong, to remind them of what they lost, to send one message, just one, to feel the upper hand. But that's the old game. That's reaction. That's ego. You've outgrown that. Because real power doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need applause. It's felt. Like gravity, unseen but undeniable. You've chosen to stand still, not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more, your peace, your progress, your growth. And while they sit with this realization, feeling the weight of the silence, wondering how they let it slip, you remain unmoved. Not out of coldness, but out of alignment. You've stepped into the space where freedom lives. Freedom from needing their validation. Freedom from cycles that kept you tethered. Imagine being the lighthouse, standing tall while the waves crash endlessly below. The lighthouse doesn't chase the waves. It doesn't bend to their fury. It remains steady, a beacon of stillness. That's you now, and the higher you stand, the more they feel the loss of your light. So, if you're standing tall in this moment, feeling the weight of your own stillness, type, "I am steady," in the comments. Let the world know, let yourself know, that you've stepped out of the game and into your own power. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Let that one sink in for a moment, my friends. We build these stories in our heads, stories about people who didn't value us, didn't care when we gave them everything. And we believe those stories so deeply that we start to think maybe we were the problem. But today, we're breaking that lie wide open. Because this isn't about what they thought when you stayed. It's about how regret is breaking them now that you've let go. This is about their silent storm, not yours. So before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe if you're ready to step back into your power, if you're ready to see the truth that maybe, just maybe, you were the light they took for granted. Stay with me on this one, because by the end, you'll feel that fire rising again. Hey folks, imagine this for a second. Picture a garden, lush and blooming, every flower cared for, every weed pulled. You gave it water, you gave it sun, you protected it from storms. But the one person who walked through that garden every day, they never even noticed the beauty growing under their feet. They didn't stop to admire the roses. They didn't even glance at the petals falling. They just expected it to always be there. Until one day you stopped tending it. The flowers wilted, the colors faded, and suddenly they're standing there in the silence of what used to be, wondering where the beauty went. That's what happens when you let go, my friends. They don't notice when you're giving. They only feel the void when you're gone. See, they thought you were permanent, like the moon in the sky or the sun in the morning. You'd always show up. They thought your patience meant forever, that your kindness was endless. But here's the truth they never saw coming. Patience is not permission for mistreatment. And your love. That was never a guarantee. It was a gift, a choice. They thought they could test your limits, push your boundaries, take from your cup without ever refilling it. But every cup runs dry eventually, my friends. And when it did, when you finally stopped pouring and started walking, they felt it. Oh, they felt it. Now, let's break the biggest lie they told themselves. The lie that you needed them more than they needed you. They believed you'd stay stuck in that same chapter, waiting, hoping, hurting. But while they were busy ignoring the weight of your love, you were learning how to fly. You were growing wings they never noticed. And when you took off, soaring out of their reach, that's when they realized. The regret didn't come when you left. It came when they looked around and saw that no one else offered the peace you did. That's the gut punch they never saw coming. You know what's funny? They thought you walking away was a bluff, like you were playing some kind of game, waiting for them to call your bluff and pull you back in. But this wasn't a game, folks. This was survival. You weren't playing hard to get. You were getting hard to hurt. That's what they never understood. And now they're sitting in the ruins of what they destroyed with their carelessness, their ego, their silence. And here's the best part. They don't get to rebuild it. That garden, that love, that presence you gave so freely. They had their chance. They didn't care when you let go. But now regret is breaking them. So stay with me, my friends, because we're just getting started. We're about to dive into the 7 deep psychology-backed reasons why they didn't care when you let go. But now regret is tearing them apart. These aren't just theories. These are the hard truths, the emotional shifts they're feeling right now, even if they'll never admit it. And if you've ever been there, if you've ever let go of someone who didn't know your worth, I want you to drop this in the comments. I let go, and they regret it. Say it loud. Say it for you. And if this is already speaking to your soul, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with me, because this is your time to rise. Write it in the comments right now. I choose me. Number 1. They confused patience for permanence. The worst mistake you can make is thinking someone's patience is weakness. Let that one settle in your bones, my friends. Because patience is a silent strength, but when taken for granted, it becomes the quiet exit they never saw coming. This is where it all begins. They confused your patience for permanence. They mistook your willingness to wait, to understand, to forgive, as something that would always be there. And that's the lie they told themselves, over and over, while you held it all together. Picture this. A bridge, strong and steady, standing through storms, holding up the weight of everyone crossing it. Day after day they walked across it, barely noticing the effort it took to hold steady under the strain. They never once wondered about the cracks forming beneath their feet, never stopped to check if the foundation needed care. Until one day, without warning, the bridge gave out, and they were left standing on the edge, staring at the emptiness, wondering how they never saw it coming. That bridge, my friends, was you. Your patience, your strength, your endurance. They walked on it every day like it was guaranteed, and when you finally collapsed beneath the weight of their neglect, they felt it like an earthquake shaking the ground they thought was solid. Now here's what's running through their mind. Questions they never thought they'd ask. How did I miss it? Were there signs? How did they let go so easily? But you and I know it wasn't easy. It never is. You stayed through the storms, through the doubts, through the late nights where you questioned if loving them was worth the pain. And even when it wasn't easy, you chose to believe in them. You chose to show up, again and again and again. But here's the truth they never wanted to face. Patience has limits. It's not a bottomless well. They thought you'd always wait because you always had. They thought they could pull away, push your buttons, test your loyalty, and you'd still be there. Because you always were. But patience doesn't mean forever. Patience doesn't mean permission. And your love. That was never a contract with no end date. It was a choice renewed every day until the day you realized you were the only one choosing it. And oh, when you let go, that's when the fear crept in. That's when the questions in their mind became louder than the excuses they used to drown you out. What if they're really gone this time? What if I can't replace what I had? What if no one ever loves me like that again? And here's the kicker, they can't. Because love like yours, patience like yours, doesn't show up twice. See, folks, they thought patience was passivity. They mistook your softness for weakness, your endurance for neediness. They thought you needed them more than they needed you. But here's what breaks that lie wide open. You didn't let go because you stopped loving them. You let go because you started loving yourself more. And that's the shift they never saw coming. Because they were too busy believing the bridge would always hold, the flowers would always bloom, the garden would always be green, never realizing the gardener was exhausted. So why is it so hard to walk away when you've been patient for so long? because that patience becomes part of your identity. You start to believe that if you just hold on a little longer, they'll see your worth. You tell yourself maybe they just need more time, maybe they're going through something. You create stories to explain away the neglect, the half-love, the distance. But the truth, you deserve love that doesn't make you question your place in someone's life. And when you finally stop explaining, stop waiting, stop stretching yourself thin for someone who can't even meet you halfway, that's when the healing starts. That's when their regret begins. Because patience may have kept you there longer than you should have stayed, but it's also what made your absence feel so loud when you finally walked away. And now they sit with the echo of what they took for granted. So, my friends, let's drop this affirmation right here, right now in the comments. Say it for yourself. Show the world. My patience is power, not permanence. Write it, own it, feel it, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. What's coming next? Oh, it's the part where they feel your absence like a mirror they can't escape. Number 2, when you gave everything, they gave barely enough. We accept the love we think we deserve. But what happens when we give the love we wish we'd receive in return? That, my friends, is the trap so many of us fall into. You gave them everything, your time, your heart, your understanding. You bent, stretched, poured from a cup that was running dry, all in the hope that they'd finally see it, feel it, appreciate it. But instead, they gave just enough to keep you there, barely enough. And somehow, that little breadcrumb of effort felt like a feast when your heart was starving. But no more. Today we're breaking that lie apart. Imagine this. You're standing in a desert, parched, lips cracked, sun beating down on your back, and they come to you, offering a single drop of water. Just one. And you take it like it's salvation. Because when you're starving for love, even the smallest gesture feels like enough. But here's the truth. They knew you were thirsty. They knew you were starving for connection, for honesty, for effort. And they chose to offer you drops when they could have given rivers. That's not love. That's emotional survival. And that's the lie they told themselves. As long as I give something, it'll be enough to keep you here. But let me ask you something, my friends. How long can you survive on scraps before your soul starts to fade? How many times did you tell yourself, next time they'll try harder, next time they'll show up? You made excuses. You filled in the blanks for them. You carried the weight of the relationship on your back while they coasted. And here's the kicker. They got comfortable. Comfortable in your giving, comfortable in your love. Comfortable in knowing you'd keep showing up, even when they barely did. This is what psychologists call reciprocity imbalance, when one person gives and the other just takes. Over time, the giver gets drained, exhausted, questioning their own worth. But the taker? They never notice until the giving stops, and that's what broke them. When you stopped giving, when the well ran dry, they felt the emptiness they created. And now? Now they sit in that space, realizing they contributed barely enough to keep the flame alive, and they let it burn out. But why does it feel so hard to see this when you're in the middle of it? Because when you love someone, you see their potential, not just their patterns. You see the best version of them, the version that shows up sometimes, the version that gives you hope. And that hope? It's a dangerous thing. It convinces you that a drop today could turn into an ocean tomorrow. It keeps you thirsty, waiting, believing. But here's the truth they never wanted you to know. Real love doesn't make you beg for the bare minimum. It doesn't ask you to shrink, to settle, to pour out your soul while getting sips in return. And when you finally saw it, when you finally said enough, that's when the regret started creeping in. That's when they realized the one who gave everything has nothing left to give. Their barely enough isn't enough for you anymore. And the scariest part for them, no one else is willing to give what you did so freely. They're out there now, searching for someone who will offer that kind of unconditional love again, but love like yours. It's not a common thing, it's rare, it's powerful, it's irreplaceable. And here's the thing about regret, it doesn't hit all at once. No, it builds, like waves crashing on a shore, each one a little stronger, a little louder, until they're drowning in it. They scroll through your old texts. They replay your laughter in their mind. They remember the late-night talks, the comfort you gave, the effort you made look effortless. And now, without your giving heart in their life, all they're left with is the hollow echo of barely enough. So let's break another lie here, folks. You were too much. That's what they may have said, that you wanted too much, needed too much, asked for too much. But the truth? You were never too much. They were too little. And they knew it. That's why they fear your silence now, because it means they have to face themselves without your love buffering the truth. And right here, right now, let's stamp this truth into your soul. Drop this in the comments. I gave everything. They gave barely enough. And I am done begging for scraps. Write it. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you know your worth now. And stay with me, my friends, because in the next part, we're going even deeper. We're talking about how your absence became the mirror they never wanted to face. Number 3. Your absence became their mirror. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That quote, my friends, is the perfect storm for what's coming next. Because your absence didn't just create space, it created a mirror, a reflection they've been running from, a reflection that shows them everything they refused to see while you were there, giving, loving, hoping, and now they can't escape it. Let's paint the picture. Imagine someone standing in front of a still lake. When the water is calm, they can see their reflection. But if they throw stones, distractions, excuses, other people, it ripples the surface. The image gets distorted, blurry, easy to ignore. That's what they did with you. Every time you showed them the truth, hey, I need more, I deserve better. This isn't working for me. They threw stones. They told themselves it's fine, they'll stay. They always do. And for a while the ripples worked. They didn't have to face the real image staring back. But then you left, and the surface stilled. Now the water is clear, and they are face to face with the person they've been avoiding all along. That's the power of absence. It strips away the noise, it silences the distractions. And suddenly, they're sitting alone with their reflection, the reflection of their own lack, their own failures, their own choices. They're looking at the version of themselves that took you for granted. And oh, how that image haunts them now. See, when you were there, your presence acted like a buffer. It softened the blow of their own shortcomings. You carried the emotional weight, smoothed over the cracks, made excuses for the behavior they didn't want to own. You held up a funhouse mirror, distorting the truth just enough so they could believe they were doing enough. But when you let go, that mirror shattered, and all that's left is a raw, unfiltered reflection. This is what psychologists call emotional contrast. When the emotional reality they experience now is so drastically different from what they were used to, it creates painful awareness. Before, they felt comfortable, even superior. But now, in the absence of your effort, your love, your care, they feel small, incomplete. That's the contrast, what they had versus what they lost. And nothing highlights that more than silence. It's funny, isn't it? They thought your absence would be easy. They told themselves, I'll move on fast. They'll be back. I'll find someone else. But now they're scrolling through your old photos, reading messages you wrote long ago, trying to feel that warmth again. Only now it's cold. Because your absence is colder than they ever expected. It isn't just space, it's a void that echoes back their own failures, and the questions that keep them up at night. Why did I let them go? Why didn't I do more? What if no one ever loves me like that again? Those questions are louder in the silence. That's the mirror working its magic. It shows them the real cost of taking you for granted. But here's the lie they believed. Out of sight, out of mind. They thought that if they could distract themselves long enough, they wouldn't feel it. They thought time would erase you. But time, my friends, it doesn't erase love like yours. It magnifies it. Because when the next person doesn't show up the way you did, when the effort feels forced, when the connection feels surface level, that's when the mirror hits hardest. They compare, they measure, and no one quite feels like you. Now they're sitting with the reflection of what they lost, the reflection of their own apathy. And the hardest part, they did it to themselves. They crafted this outcome by offering bare minimums, by coasting, by assuming you'd never leave. But you did, and now their regret is a shadow they can't shake. So my friends, let's break that lie for good. Drop this in the comments right now. My absence is a mirror they can't escape. Say it loud, say it proud. Show yourself, show the world. Because that's the truth. Your absence is powerful, your silence is reflection, and they are finally seeing what you saw all along. Stay with me, because next, we're diving into how they realized too late that you were the safe place they never appreciated. And trust me, that one stings the most. Number 4, they realized too late you were the safe place. We only miss the sun when it starts to snow. My friends, isn't that the truth? You see, they didn't recognize you as the safe place, not when you were there, steady and strong, holding space for them when they didn't even know how to hold it for themselves. They thought the warmth you brought, the peace you gave, the support you offered, it was just there, like air, like oxygen, unseen, unappreciated, expected. But now that you're gone, that's when they finally feel the cold. That's when they realize you weren't just a part of their life, you were the calm in their chaos. Imagine this. Picture a lighthouse standing tall on the edge of a rocky shore. Waves crash, storms howl, but that lighthouse stays lit, guiding ships safely through the darkest nights. You were that lighthouse. You didn't ask for applause. You didn't demand recognition. You just showed up. You stayed steady. But they didn't even look up to see the light. They were too busy chasing storms, seeking the thrill of the unknown, craving the excitement of what they thought was more. And now, as they drift further into their own storm, no guiding light in sight, they realize they left their safe place behind. They left the harbor that sheltered them, the arms that held them through their darkest nights. They didn't care when you let go, not at first. But now, regret is breaking them from the inside out. Because the world out there, it's colder, harsher, emptier than they ever expected. And the lighthouse, it's no longer there to guide them home. But here's the kicker. They thought peace was boring. They thought stability was too easy. They mistook the comfort you gave for complacency. You weren't loud, you weren't flashy, you didn't demand attention. But what they never understood, real love doesn't have to scream to be heard. Real love whispers, "I'm here." Real love feels like exhaling after holding your breath too long. It's not the fireworks, it's the warmth after the fire burns out. And now that warmth is gone. And let me tell you something about human nature. We don't appreciate peace until we've lived in chaos. We don't recognize stability until it's replaced with uncertainty. And that's where they are now, my friends. They're surrounded by people who offer chaos disguised as passion. People who show up half-heartedly, who love with conditions, who leave them feeling more empty than before. And suddenly the safe place they once rolled their eyes at, that feels priceless now. But you're not there anymore. And that's the sting, because they thought you'd always be available. They thought no matter how far they wandered, how long they disappeared, they could always come back. They thought you'd be waiting. But here's the truth. They mistook your patience for permanence. They thought your love was unconditional, no matter how many times they left you out in the cold. But you were never their doormat. You were their shelter. And when the shelter is gone, even the strongest start to feel the rain. Now, here's where the mirror flips, folks, because you've outgrown the role they kept placing you in. You've learned the difference between being someone's safe place and someone's emotional safety net. You've realized that you can offer love, but you can't offer yourself up to be drained. And now they feel that absence like a wound that won't heal. And let's be clear, it's not that you stopped caring. It's that you started caring for yourself more. You stopped lighting the way for someone who didn't want to find their way home. And that's what they didn't see coming. They thought the lighthouse was just part of the landscape. But now that it's gone, now that the light is out, the sea feels darker than ever. Let's drop the truth right here, right now. Say it with me. Drop it in the comments. I was the safe place they didn't appreciate. Show yourself. Show the world. Own it. Because that's what you were. And now they know it too. But stay with me, my friends. Because next, we're diving into how regret becomes a silent storm that breaks them piece by piece. Oh, we're just getting started. Number 5. Regret is a silent storm. The worst storms are the ones you never see coming. They build in silence, then tear everything apart. And that's exactly what regret does, my friends. It doesn't roar at first. It doesn't announce its arrival like thunder. No, regret is quiet at first, a whisper, a shadow, but over time, it grows into a storm so loud it drowns out everything else. That's what they're feeling now, the regret they never expected, the storm they never prepared for, and it's breaking them piece by piece. You see, when you let go, they thought they'd move on without missing a beat. They told themselves, I'll be fine, they'll come back, or I'll find someone else. That's the lie they wrapped themselves in, like a blanket, comfortable, warm. But the truth? That lie started to unravel the moment your silence stayed longer than they thought it would. At first, the quiet felt like a pause, like you were catching your breath. But days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And now that silence is a storm inside them, a storm they can't escape. Imagine standing in the middle of a vast field, the sky darkening, clouds swirling overhead. At first it's just a breeze, barely noticeable, but then the air shifts, the pressure builds, and you know, a storm is coming. That's regret, my friends. It starts soft, a tug in their chest when they scroll past your picture, a flicker of memory when they hear your favorite song, but then it builds, it grows, until every quiet moment feels like thunder rolling through their soul. And here's what makes it worse. They don't talk about it. They won't admit it. Not to you, maybe not even to themselves. But it's there, when the distractions fade, when they're lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling. That's when the storm rages the loudest. It crashes in waves. Why did I let them go? Why didn't I try harder? What if no one ever loves me like that again? Those questions become the lightning bolts that keep striking over and over until there's nothing left but the wreckage of what they lost. But let's talk about why this storm hit so hard. Because they thought time would heal it. They thought they could outrun the pain, distract themselves, fill the void with someone else. But here's the truth. They didn't just lose someone who cared. They lost the one person who made them feel safe, understood, accepted. And you can't replace that, my friends. You can't find that kind of love on every street corner. They told themselves the absence wouldn't hurt. I'll just find someone else. I'll be fine. But absence doesn't just create space. It creates reflection. It makes them see what they ignored when you were there. And now they're staring at the wreckage, realizing they held a rare gem in their hands and let it slip through their fingers. And the worst part? Regret doesn't give them closure. It leaves the door wide open, the storm raging. There's no neat ending here, no clean goodbye, just questions that don't have answers. Do they miss me? Would they take me back? Have they moved on? These thoughts circle like vultures in their mind, and they realize they may never know. That's what haunts them. Not just losing you, but losing the chance to fix what they broke. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the mental battle between what they believe about themselves and the reality they can't ignore. They see themselves as the one in control, the one who always had the upper hand. But your absence, it shattered that illusion. Now they're left with the uncomfortable truth. They were careless with something precious. And the storm of regret, it's breaking them from the inside out. So here's what I want you to do, right here, right now. Drop this in the comments. Their regret is the storm they never saw coming. Write it, feel it, own it, because that's the truth. You were their calm, their safe place, and now they're standing in the storm alone. But stay with me, folks, because we're not done yet. Next, we're diving into how they expected you to wait in the wings while you were out there healing, rising, becoming untouchable. Oh, this journey, it's just getting good. Number 6, they expected you to wait in the wings. You will never heal by going back to what broke you. Remember that, my friends, because this is where they miscalculated the most. They expected you to wait, to stand still, to pause your life like a movie on hold, just waiting for them to hit play again. They thought you'd sit quietly in the wings, watching their performance from the sidelines, waiting for your cue to come back on stage. But here's what they never understood. This wasn't their show to direct. Let's paint the scene. Imagine a grand theater. The lights are low, the audience is silent. You're standing in the wings, heart pounding, waiting for your moment. But the actor on stage, they're ad-libbing, ignoring the script, forgetting your lines. And you're waiting, hoping they'll stick to the plan, give you the moment you deserve. But time passes, the curtain never rises for you, and one day you realize this isn't your stage anymore. So you walk out the side door, into the sunlight, leaving behind the dim theater and the half-hearted story they were writing for you. That's what they never saw coming. They thought you'd be frozen in that role forever, that you'd wait for their call, their message, their apology. But while they were out there improvising, playing games, seeking applause from others, you were doing something far more powerful. You were healing, quietly, steadily. You were rewriting your script. You stopped waiting for their permission to step into the spotlight of your own life. And let me tell you something about waiting in the wings. At first, it feels safe, familiar. You tell yourself, maybe they just need time, maybe they'll come around. You stay close enough to hope, but far enough to hurt. But there's a moment, a turning point, where you realize you're waiting for someone who doesn't even know they're on stage with you. You realize you deserve more than stolen moments, more than half efforts, more than someone who expects you to stay stuck while they explore every option. And here's the lie they told themselves. They thought you were waiting because you couldn't move on. They mistook your silence for longing, your distance for hesitation. But the truth? Your silence was growth. Your distance was healing. You weren't waiting in the wings. You were building a whole new stage, one where you are the star, one where you decide the story. And now they're looking around, realizing the stage is empty, and they're performing for an audience that no longer cares. The regret hits hard when they realize you're no longer where they left you. They scroll through your social media, looking for signs that you're still stuck, still waiting, still hurting. But instead, they see you living, smiling, thriving, maybe quietly, maybe without fanfare, but you're moving forward. And that's the part they can't handle, because while they thought time stood still for you, you were using every second to grow. You were learning to love yourself again, to rebuild the parts of you they chipped away. And now you're untouchable in a way they never expected, because the person you've become, that version of you, doesn't wait in the wings for anyone. Psychologically, this is called emotional detachment, when you finally separate your worth from their actions, when their choices no longer hold you hostage. And here's what's wild. They feel it, they sense it. They might not know the words for it, but they feel the shift in the energy. They feel that you're no longer waiting, and that's what terrifies them, because in their mind, you were always the fallback, the safety net, the guaranteed option. But here's the truth that breaks that lie apart. You were never a backup plan. You were the main event. And now, they've lost their seat at the table. They expected you to wait in the wings, but you took center stage in your own life. Let's stamp that truth in stone. Drop this in the comments right now. I was never waiting. I was healing. Say it loud. Say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you've stepped into your own light. And stay with me, my friends. Because next, we're diving into how your growth became their punishment. How the person you've become is the one thing they can't reach anymore. Number 7. Your growth became their punishment. The greatest revenge is massive success. And oh, my friends, doesn't that truth hit like a freight train? See, they thought losing you would break you down. They thought the pain would keep you small, stuck, shattered beneath the weight of what they did. They thought you'd stay in the same place, carrying the wounds, dragging the chains of heartbreak behind you. But what they never anticipated, what they never saw coming, was that your growth would become their punishment, that you wouldn't just survive, you'd evolve. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a tree struck by lightning. The bark is scorched, the branches splintered. To anyone passing by, it looks like the end, but deep beneath the surface, the roots are still alive. And over time, that tree doesn't just grow back, it grows taller, stronger, more resilient than before. And that's you. They thought they could strike you down, thought the hurt would hollow you out. But you used the pain as your soil. You turned the ashes into nourishment. And now you're towering, blooming, reaching heights they can't even touch. And here's the beautiful irony, folks. They're watching, maybe from afar, maybe through a screen, maybe through the whispers of mutual friends. But they see it. They see the glow-up they didn't believe was possible. And every step you take forward, every smile that reaches your eyes again, every dream you chase without them, that's the punishment they never prepared for. See, they expected you to stay stuck in the role they left you in, the broken one, the one crying at night, replaying every conversation, wondering what you could have done differently. But you flipped the script. You realized your healing wasn't about getting them back. It was about getting yourself back. You stopped waiting for closure from someone who couldn't even offer accountability. You stopped needing their validation. You became the person they didn't recognize anymore, and that's what stings the most. Because here's the truth. Your growth makes them face their own stagnation. Every time they see you rising, they're reminded of where they stayed the same. While you were building, they were coasting. While you were healing, they were hiding. While you were finding yourself, they were losing the very thing that made them feel grounded, you, and now they can't reach you. Not because you're hiding, but because you've elevated. And that elevation, it's a language they no longer speak. They don't know how to approach someone who no longer accepts crumbs, someone who no longer settles for half efforts, someone who doesn't flinch at silence but thrives in it. That's what breaks them. They're out there searching, chasing, trying to fill the void. But the people they meet, they don't offer the depth, the warmth, the strength you did. And the more they search, the more they realize they lost a rare soul, a soul that outgrew the pain they left you in. But here's the thing, my friends. Your growth wasn't about revenge. It was about rebirth. It was about looking at the broken pieces of yourself and saying, I'm building something stronger this time. You didn't heal out of spite. You healed out of necessity. Because the old you, the one who tolerated less, accepted less, believed in potential over patterns, that version of you, you buried them. And from that burial came someone unshakable. And now they're haunted by the memory of who you used to be, because the person standing in your place today, they can't access that person anymore. They can't reach the version of you who would have answered the late-night calls, who would have accepted the half-hearted apologies, who would have stayed hoping they'd change. You outgrew the story they wrote for you, and now they're left flipping through old pages, trying to rewrite an ending that no longer exists. Let's lock that truth in. Drop this in the comments right now. I outgrew the pain they left me in. Say it loud, say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world that you turned heartbreak into healing, pain into power. As we wrap this up, my friends, remember this. Letting go wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your rise. They didn't care when you let go, but now, regret is their storm to weather. You chose peace over chaos, growth over stagnation, and that choice, that's your power. If this message stirred something deep inside you, drop a comment below. I choose peace, not pain. Let the world know. And don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs this truth, and subscribe for more healing, empowerment, and unstoppable growth. They didn't care when you left, but now it's killing them inside. Dark psychology. Sometimes people don't realize the damage they've done until they're left alone with the silence they created. My friends, this one's going to hit different, because there's a strange kind of pain that only shows up when you're finally gone. Not when you slam the door, not when you block them, but when the silence becomes real. That's when it starts to eat them alive. That's when the very absence they once ignored starts whispering truths they can't run from anymore. You see, they didn't care when you left, but now it's killing them inside. Hey folks, imagine this. You're pouring your heart into a glass. Every drop of love, time, energy, and loyalty. And they just stand there, sipping it like it's endless. No thank you, no effort, just entitlement. That was your life. You gave, they took. And every time you tried to pull back, they smirked like you wouldn't dare, because in their mind, you were safe, predictable, always coming back. But one day, you didn't. You finally put the glass down, and they didn't feel the thirst until the well ran dry. They didn't believe you'd leave because you were always there. You forgave too easily. You explained too much. You stayed too long. They got used to the idea that no matter what they did or didn't do, you'd still be waiting, still texting, still hoping. But you weren't waiting. You were breaking, quietly, privately, like a tree that stands tall in storms, but eventually snaps in stillness. And by the time they noticed the silence, it wasn't a pause. It was a goodbye. They thought your silence was a strategy, that you were playing games. But folks, it wasn't that. It was survival. You weren't trying to teach them a lesson. You were trying to remember who you were before they made you feel like you were too much for wanting the bare minimum. You weren't punishing them. You were protecting yourself. That's the difference. That's the truth they never saw coming. You know, the Stoics used to say, "He who angers you controls you." But here's the twist. When you left, you didn't leave in anger. You left in peace, and peace is what haunts people the most. Rage can be dismissed. But silence lingers. It makes them sit with their choices, replay their words, feel the gap that your presence used to fill. And the wildest part? They'll never tell anyone it's killing them. They'll wear their pride like armor. But inside, they're folding. They're checking your socials, rereading old messages, wondering how you moved on without closure, without chaos, without needing them to explain a damn thing. It's funny, isn't it? How they once thought your loyalty meant weakness. How they assumed you'd always be around, like background music in their life. But now, the music's stopped, and all that's left is the sound of their own regret. You didn't just walk away, you evolved, you healed, you rose, and they didn't see that coming. That's the beauty of silent growth. It doesn't ask for attention, but it demands respect. So if this is your story, if you've ever felt like you were the only one trying, the only one loving, the only one breaking while they stayed numb, just know this. You weren't weak for staying, and you're not cold for leaving. You're wise. You're rising. And their delayed regret? That's not your burden to carry. Say it with me in the comments. Write it loud. I choose peace, not pain. Drop that in below. And if you're ready to stop looking back, press that like button, subscribe, and stay with me. Because this is just the beginning of your comeback. Number 1. They thought your presence was permanent. The biggest mistake people make is thinking your loyalty is a life sentence. Let's get this straight. They didn't care when you left because they never truly believed you would. To them, your presence wasn't a blessing. It was a guarantee. They got used to you being there, responding, reassuring, forgiving, showing up like clockwork even when your heart was breaking. They confused consistency with captivity. And that's where they got it twisted. Because love isn't a cage, it's a choice. And the day you chose you instead of chasing them, that was the day they lost access to something they thought was theirs forever. It's like planting a tree in your yard and ignoring it for years. No water, no care, just assuming it'll always be there, standing tall. But one day you wake up and it's gone, uprooted, vanished. That's how they felt when you left. Shocked, confused. Wait, they're actually gone? Yes, because folks, even the strongest trees will fall if you stop nurturing them. You weren't waiting around. You were wilting in silence, and they didn't even notice. You see, most people don't process love as a living thing. Something that needs energy, attention, presence. They process it as a convenience. And when you've always been the one who shows up first, who says sorry first, who fixes the distance, They stop believing you're capable of leaving. But here's the truth. They weren't in love with you. They were in love with your availability, with the way you were always there, always easy to reach, always ready to forgive. And they thought that would never change. But something broke inside you, didn't it? Something clicked. That day when your calls went unanswered, when your needs were dismissed, when your tears dried on their shoulder because they stopped listening. That's when you realized you can't force someone to value what they think they'll never lose. That's when you stopped hoping. And more than that, you stopped explaining. Because love shouldn't feel like a one-person performance on a stage that's always half empty. They thought you'd return like you always did, that your silence was just another pause, a reset. But the silence kept stretching. And suddenly, it wasn't peace they were sitting in, it was panic. That's when the stories started forming in their head. Have they moved on? Do they miss me? Are they really done? Because now, for the first time, they're facing the one reality they never prepared for. You were serious. Why is it so hard for them to understand? Because in their mind, they had time. They thought love was elastic, bend it, stretch it, ignore it, and it'll bounce back. But no, real love has a breaking point. And the day you hit yours, the old you was gone. The you who would have sent that long message, quiet. The you who would have checked in just to make sure they were okay, disappeared. The you who used to hold on to hope like it was your lifeline, buried. And now they're starting to see the contrast, the emotional gap between when you were there and now that you're not. It's what psychologists call presence trauma, the overwhelming emotional recognition that someone who was once a consistent source of comfort is simply gone. No warning, no closure, just empty space where loyalty used to live. And that space, it echoes, loudly. But you, my friend, you are not empty. You are becoming full again, full of self-respect, full of clarity, full of peace, because you didn't leave to hurt them. You left because staying would have destroyed you. And that realization, that bold step towards self-love, they never thought you'd have the strength to take it. But you did. And look at you now. You are not their emotional crutch. You are not a placeholder for when they feel lonely. You were a whole human being, full of love, and they treated your presence like background noise. Until one day, the music stopped. And now, it's the silence that keeps them up at night. Write this in the comments if you feel this in your soul. My presence was a privilege. Say it, own it, let the world know. You were never a backup plan. You were the light in their storm, and they chose to ignore it. And don't go anywhere, because what's coming next will break down the emotional mechanics of regret in ways they'll never admit. But you deserve to understand. Stay with me. Number 2, they underestimated the power of detachment. You don't always have to yell to make someone hear you. Sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is nothing. They thought silence was weakness. They thought you were playing games, that your silence was just another attempt to get their attention, to bait a response, to stir the pot. But what they didn't realize is this: you weren't silent because you wanted them to chase you. You were silent because you were done. And nothing hits harder than the absence of someone who used to care with their whole soul. At first, they weren't shaken. They thought you'd be back, just like always, that you were just cooling off, that eventually the itch would crawl back into your heart, and you'd text them again, forgive them again, explain yourself again, because that's the cycle they were used to. You react, you cry, you try, but this time you didn't. This time you stepped back and stayed back. And that, my friend, is when everything began to crumble inside them. It's like removing gravity. Suddenly everything that felt stable in their world starts to float away. Their control over you, gone. Their ability to rely on your reaction, gone. Their comfort in your loyalty, gone. They didn't realize how much of their emotional security came from knowing you still cared. And when that energy disappeared, it wasn't peace they felt. It was panic. Because detachment doesn't scream, it doesn't threaten, it doesn't beg, it just vanishes. It closes the door without slamming it. It locks it without leaving a note. That's what you did. Not to punish them, not to manipulate, but because staying in that emotional loop started to feel like a betrayal to yourself. You weren't being mean. You were being wise. And let's be honest, this kind of detachment, it's terrifying to people who think they own your emotions, who think they can push you to your limit and you'll still come running, who've mistaken your loyalty for lack of options. But the truth is, you weren't out of options. You were out of patience. You were out of explanations, out of tears, out of nights, wondering what you did wrong when you were the only one actually trying to hold it all together. And now they're feeling it. That tension in their chest when they see your name but can't reach out. That sick feeling when they check your profile and realize you're not sad, you're glowing. That pit in their stomach when they realize your silence isn't a game. It's your healing. It's your evolution. And they're no longer part of that journey. Why is this so hard for them to process? Because detachment is invisible at first. It doesn't announce itself. It sneaks in slowly, through all the moments you were dismissed, overlooked, taken for granted. Every time they rolled their eyes at your vulnerability, every time they made you feel like you were asking for too much when all you wanted was effort. That's when it started. And by the time they noticed, it was too late. You were already emotionally gone. Here's the lie they believed, that silence means weakness, that detachment means indifference, that you didn't care. But here's the truth. They couldn't be more wrong. Detachment doesn't mean you didn't love them. It means you finally loved yourself more. It means you had to save yourself from the slow burn of being unseen, unheard, unvalued. That kind of love isn't weak. That's strength most people will never understand. It takes power to walk away with your dignity, to choose peace over chaos, to stop explaining your worth and start living it. And now, while they spiral in their confusion, you're rising in your stillness. That's what they never expected. They thought their absence would wreck you. But it's your absence that's wrecking them. So if you're sitting in that quiet now, if you're rebuilding, if you're finally starting to feel free, remember this. Your detachment is not a loss. It's a boundary. It's a resurrection. It's you reclaiming the parts of yourself they never bothered to cherish. Say it in the comments. Let it be your power statement today. My silence is my strength. Write it, feel it, show them, show yourself. Show the world that you don't have to scream to be heard, and that real healing is done in silence, not noise. Because what's coming next? That's when they start to feel everything they thought they'd never lose. Stay with me. It only gets deeper from here. Number 3. They were emotionally numb until you went quiet. Some people won't hear you until you stop speaking. And when you do, the silence becomes unbearable. There's something haunting about realizing someone's gone, not because they made a scene, not because they left in flames, but because they simply stopped trying. That's what you did, and that's what's killing them inside now. You didn't storm out of their life. You faded, and they didn't even notice until it was too late. You were once the heartbeat of that connection, the one checking in, the one giving second, third, and fourth chances, the one trying to understand when their behavior made no sense. And the saddest part, you weren't asking for the world, just to be seen, just to be met halfway, just to be heard the way you listened so deeply. But they couldn't or wouldn't meet you there. Maybe they were emotionally unavailable. Maybe they were just selfish. Maybe they were too numb to feel anything until everything was gone. You used to send the long messages, trying to explain how you felt without sounding too much. You used to reread conversations, hoping you didn't come across as needy when all you were doing was being human. You adjusted yourself, downplayed your emotions, made your needs smaller just to keep the peace. And what did they do? Shrugged, rolled their eyes, responded with cold silence or half-effort replies. They didn't hear your pain when it was quiet. They didn't hear your hurt when it was wrapped in a smile. They didn't hear the sadness in your laugh, the hesitation in your goodbyes, the way your energy started to dim every time you tried to hold the relationship together on your own. They weren't listening, not really. But now they hear everything. Because your silence, that's the loudest thing they've ever experienced. It's funny how that works, isn't it? When you were crying, they told you to stop being dramatic. When you were begging, they told you to calm down. When you were silent, they assumed you were fine. And now that you're gone, they're the ones crying behind closed doors. They're the ones looking for meaning in old texts. They're the ones sitting in the same silence they once ignored. And it's breaking them. You see, emotional numbness is a defense mechanism. When someone is used to receiving love without earning it, they stop valuing it. When someone is handed your presence without reciprocating it, they get lazy with it. It's not that they didn't care at all. It's that they didn't care enough. Not enough to change, not enough to show up, not enough to fight for you the way you were always fighting for them. And the worst part, they didn't even ask. They didn't ask how you were really doing. They didn't ask what you needed, what you feared, what made you feel safe. They assumed that because you were strong, you didn't need anything. They mistook your resilience for being unbreakable. But even the strongest hearts can only take so much before they stop beating for the wrong people. Now, they're the ones scrolling through memories, trying to piece together the moment it all shifted, trying to pinpoint when your tone changed, when your presence felt lighter, when your soul started slipping through the cracks of their carelessness. And what they're realizing, far too late, is that they never really knew how close you were to giving up. You were already halfway out the door while they were busy playing it cool. Psychologists call this emotional neglect. It's not what someone does, it's what they fail to do. The check-ins that never happened, the apologies that were never given, the love that was never returned, and the cost. It's not always visible in the beginning, but the debt always comes due. And now it's showing up in every quiet night they spend replaying what they thought they had under control. But you're healing, quietly, powerfully, because you finally chose to stop screaming for someone who wouldn't even turn their head. You finally realized that love is not about being loud enough to be noticed. It's about being valued without having to beg. And that version of you who used to wait, who used to explain, who used to suffer in silence. You buried them, and in their place stands someone stronger, someone wiser, someone free. Say it with me in the comments. I won't beg to be seen. Let that affirmation hit deep. Let it be your reminder that your worth was never tied to someone else's ability to recognize it. And stay with me, because what's coming next will show you just how deep their regret really runs. It's only just begun. Number 4, they confused love with convenience. They didn't love you. They loved the version of you that asked for nothing and gave everything. Let's talk about the truth they never want to admit. The truth that's cutting into them now, like a dull blade they never saw coming. They didn't care when you left, because they were never truly in love with you. They were in love with the convenience of you, with the comfort, with the way you made life easier, warmer, softer, without ever asking them to step up. They weren't choosing you, they were using you, and at the time, you didn't even realize it, because you were too busy trying to prove you were enough. You thought love meant effort, loyalty, showing up through the storms. But to them, love was just about what they could get without having to give. That's not love, my friend. That's consumption. And they consumed every last drop of your presence until you were left drained and wondering why you always felt like too much and not enough at the same time. See, when love is one-sided, it doesn't feel heavy at first. It feels like hope, like potential, like maybe if I just love them a little harder, they'll change. But the longer you keep giving to someone who only takes, the heavier it gets. The more you start questioning your own worth, your own sanity, you start shrinking just to keep the peace, laughing at things that hurt, accepting silence as an answer. And every time you tell yourself, it's not that bad, it actually is. Because you're not supposed to feel alone in love. You're not supposed to wonder if you matter. But they never saw that, because they never had to. You made love easy for them. Too easy. You forgave when you shouldn't have. You explained when you had nothing left to say. You showed up when they didn't deserve your presence. And they got used to it. They started believing your heart would always be open, no matter how they treated it. They mistook your consistency for naivety, your grace for permission, your loyalty for weakness. But what they didn't realize is that even the strongest people have limits. And one day, without warning, you hit yours. You stopped chasing. You stopped waiting. You stopped asking to be loved back. And that's when the floor dropped beneath them. Not because they missed you, but because they missed what you did for them, what you gave, what you held together. And now they're waking up to a silence that wasn't there before. A stillness that used to be filled by your presence, your warmth, your attention. They're starting to feel the coldness of a world where you're no longer the one picking up the pieces, calming their storms, soothing their ego. Because now they're left with themselves. And that's the one person they were never ready to face. Why is this hitting them now? Because love by convenience only works when the supply is endless. When the person they've been taking for granted finally walks away, the illusion shatters. They're realizing the hard way that the energy you gave them wasn't common, it was rare. And they didn't lose you when you left. They lost you the moment they treated your love like it was disposable. Psychologically, this is called dependency withdrawal. They became emotionally reliant on the support you gave without ever realizing it. And when you cut that supply, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect, It triggered a spiral. Not because they miss loving you, but because they miss being loved by you without doing the work. But that chapter is closed now, and you've finally stopped confusing love with sacrifice. You've stopped showing up for someone who only noticed you when you were useful. You've stopped pouring yourself out into hands that never bothered to hold you. And let me tell you something powerful. It's not your job to teach someone how to love you. It's not your responsibility to turn potential into effort. You are not a convenience. You are a choice. And if they couldn't choose you while they had you, they sure as hell don't deserve you now that you're gone. Write this in the comments right now. I am not your convenience. Let that affirmation set fire to every part of you that once settled for less. Let it be your reminder, your shield, your truth. Because when you finally stop being available to the ones who only show up when it benefits them, that's when you make room for something real. And we're not done yet. Stay with me, because what's coming next? That's the part where they start realizing you didn't just leave, you outgrew them. Number 5. They didn't expect you to outgrow them. The pain wasn't the end of you. It was the beginning of the version of you they'll never get access to again. Let's get one thing clear. They thought the pain would keep you stuck. They thought the heartbreak would paralyze you, that you'd stay broken and bitter, constantly looking back, constantly checking your phone, hoping they'd return. They imagined you as the one who could never move on. But what they never saw coming is that you weren't waiting in the ruins. You were rebuilding in silence. At first, yes, you shattered. You cried in the middle of the night when no one was watching. You had to remind yourself to eat. You couldn't hear that one song without your throat tightening. Every corner of your life echoed their absence. The weight of what they did, of what they didn't do, sat on your chest like a boulder. And they thought, yeah, they're still stuck on me. But no, what you were doing wasn't staying stuck. It was shedding. Because growth doesn't always look like confidence and clean breaks. Sometimes it's messy, it's lonely, it's raw. But while they were out there trying to distract themselves, pretending to be unbothered, scrolling, posting, laughing with people who only know a fraction of them, you were in the trenches of your own soul. You were facing your pain, sitting with it, letting it teach you. Not because you were weak, but because you were ready to evolve. You see, they didn't think you'd outgrow the version of you that begged, the version that stayed, that forgave, that tolerated. They thought that version was all you had to offer. But what they didn't know is that your heartbreak was your wake-up call. The pain didn't destroy you. It sharpened you. It revealed every place inside you that was still searching for external validation, still settling, still trying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't even see your value. And here's the part that really cuts them now. You didn't grow for revenge. You didn't glow up just to post a thirst trap or prove something to them. No, my friend. You grew because you finally remembered who the hell you were. You grew because you got tired of your worth being debated like it was negotiable. You grew because you realized that healing isn't about forgetting them. It's about choosing you. Psychologically, they never expected you to create emotional distance. They were banking on the attachment staying intact. They thought their absence would haunt you. But the more they pulled away, the more you started to see them clearly, not through the lens of love, but through the lens of truth. And the truth, they were never equipped to love you the way you needed. They weren't ready. Maybe they still aren't. They didn't expect that the very pain they caused would be the fire that forged a new version of you, one that doesn't chase, one that doesn't beg, one that doesn't hand their heart to people who only show up when it's convenient, one that doesn't need closure from the same person who shattered you in the first place. Now they're watching from the sidelines, maybe silently, maybe through mutual friends, maybe through your social media. They see the shift, your glow, your peace, your silence, your boundaries. And it's confusing to them because they don't recognize this version of you. This you is distant, calm, clear, powerful, not loud, not bitter, but unavailable. And nothing hurts more than realizing the person you once had is now out of emotional reach. Not because they hate you, but because they've simply outgrown what you brought into their life. They expected you to stay wounded. They expected you to stay emotionally stuck. But now they're the ones stuck with the memory of a version of you who no longer exists. And that, my friend, is the torment. That's the part they'll never admit to anyone, not even themselves. But you can feel it. The energetic shift, the way they hesitate, the way their energy lingers. Because even if they never say it out loud, they know what they lost. And deep down, they know they'll never find it again. Not in someone else, not in another version of you, because you've risen too far to be reached by the same hands that dropped you. Say it with me in the comments right now. I outgrew what once broke me. Write it, show it, breathe it. Let it be your reminder that you didn't just survive this, you transcended it. And don't go anywhere, because in the next part, we'll break down why your absence isn't just felt. It's amplified by the very silence they used to ignore. Stay with me. It gets deeper. Number 6. The absence created the contrast. People don't always notice the light until they're sitting in the dark you used to keep away. They didn't care when you left, because your absence hadn't fully settled into their bones yet. Not at first. At first, they were still riding the high of their ego, still telling themselves you'd be back, still believing the illusion they built in their head, that your presence was permanent, that your love would always be on tap, that you were just taking space, but would eventually circle back. But now the silence is louder than their excuses. Now the stillness is louder than their pride. Now the contrast is killing them. Because that's how it works. When someone's had a constant in their life for so long, your check-ins, your support, your warmth, your forgiveness, they start treating it like background noise. Like the hum of a refrigerator, always there, never noticed, until it shuts off. And suddenly, the silence feels wrong, unnatural, empty. That's what they're feeling now. Not just the void of your presence, but the weight of what they took for granted. And it's not just missing you, it's missing who they were when you were around. Because believe it or not, you made them feel better about themselves. You gave them peace in a world full of noise. You were a lighthouse in their storm. But they didn't recognize that until the light went out. Now, they're left with contrast. And contrast, my friend, is a cruel teacher. When someone's life has been colored by your presence, your laughter, your energy, your compassion, they don't realize how much light you bring until everything feels gray, until the texts stop, until the energy shifts, until no one checks in. No one cares like you did. No one loves with that softness you offered without conditions. And suddenly, they start to notice everything you were, the way you listened even when they didn't make sense, the way you stayed calm when they spiraled, the way you reminded them of their potential when they were ready to give up. All those little things they rolled their eyes at, brushed off, or worse, mocked. Now those things feel priceless. Now those things keep them up at night. Because here's the truth, they didn't just lose a person. They lost a feeling they can't recreate with anyone else. A feeling of being safe. Psychologically, this is called emotional contrast bias. It means that people often don't appreciate something until it's removed and replaced with something worse. And let's be real, nothing feels worse than emptiness. Nothing feels worse than knowing someone used to love you deeply, and now they're not even thinking about you. Now they're not even available, not angry, not bitter, just gone. And that's what's destroying them. Not your words, not your goodbye, but your lack of reaction. Because reaction means you still care. Reaction means they still have control. But your silence, that's the moment the mirror cracks. That's when they start replaying every moment you were there, every effort they ignored, every time they dismissed your needs while expecting you to meet theirs. And that's when the guilt creeps in. That's when the regret settles. That's when they realize you weren't just a chapter. You were the best part of the story. And now the book is closed. They underestimated what your absence would do to them. They thought they were strong enough to live without you. But what they didn't calculate was how deeply your presence had rewired their comfort. You became their emotional safety net, their familiar energy, their anchor. And when you cut the cord, not out of spite but out of self-respect, they were left floating in a reality that feels cold, uninviting, and uncertain. Meanwhile, look at you, healing in peace, choosing silence over chaos, choosing clarity over confusion. Not because you don't care, but because you finally realized that love shouldn't feel like a fight to be seen. You're no longer trying to prove your worth to someone who only valued it in your absence. And that, my friend, is power. Say it with me in the comments. My absence revealed the truth. Say it boldly, because it did. Your absence stripped away their delusions. It exposed what they refused to see while you were still there, that you were the one holding it all together. And now that you're not, they're unraveling. Stay close, because in the next section, we're going to explore how their ego kept them blind. But the pain is waking them up. And trust me, you'll want to hear it. Number 7. Their ego. Delayed the regret, but it didn't stop the collapse. The ego will lie to protect the heart, but silence always tells the truth. They didn't care when you left, not because they didn't feel it, but because their ego wouldn't let them. You walked away, and instead of reaching for you, they reached for their pride. They shrugged it off, acted cold, maybe even laughed with their friends like it was no big deal. But deep down, the cracks were already forming, because ego doesn't heal anything. It just hides the wound, hoping no one notices the bleeding. And now, the mask is slipping. See, the ego will say anything to avoid accountability. They were too emotional. They were never going to leave anyway. They'll come back. These were the lies they fed themselves to avoid facing the weight of what they lost. But ego doesn't have a long shelf life. Eventually, it spoils the very soul it's trying to protect. And now, the silence that once made them feel powerful is suffocating. At first, they played the role, untouched, unbothered, maybe even reckless, posting like they were free, like losing you was a relief. But you can't fake peace, not for long. Eventually, the pretending turns into pacing. The confidence turns into questioning. The silence they once used as a weapon has become a mirror. And in that mirror, they're seeing the truth, that they pushed away the one person who genuinely cared, and they did it with arrogance. Let me tell you something, my friend. Regret doesn't always hit like a thunderstorm. Sometimes it builds slowly in quiet moments, in old songs, in missed calls, in memories that sneak in when the room is too quiet. That's what they're dealing with now. The slow collapse of everything they told themselves to avoid admitting that you were the one. And now the ego that kept them feeling powerful is the very thing that's keeping them from healing. Why is this so painful for them? Because for so long they believed they had time. They believed you'd always be around, that even if they hurt you, you'd come back, that your love was theirs by default. But now that you're gone, not just physically but emotionally, energetically, spiritually, they're forced to feel what they buried under ego. Loss. Real, gut-wrenching loss. And here's the kicker. They can't even talk about it, because doing so would mean admitting they were wrong, that they mishandled you, that they lost something rare. So they stay quiet, but inside, they're unraveling. The silence they once weaponized now circles them like a storm, and every time they think of reaching out, pride grabs their hand. Every time they want to say, "I miss you," ego whispers, "Don't look weak." But weakness isn't in saying, "I miss you." Weakness is pretending you don't. And that's the trap they're in now. Psychologically, this is called ego-preserving behavior, where someone avoids vulnerability at all costs to maintain a sense of superiority or control. But the cost, it's high. They might save face, but they lose connection. They might protect their image, but they destroy intimacy. And in the end, they're left alone with their pride, and nothing else. You, on the other hand, you broke the cycle. You let go of needing their validation. You walked away, not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped begging to be chosen. And now your silence is doing what your words never could. It's showing them who really held the power all along. They used to think silence was passive, that it meant you were weak, waiting, hoping. But now, they know better. Your silence is your boundary, your clarity, your peace. And the longer it goes on, the more they realize. They lost you, not in some dramatic goodbye, but in a moment of stillness they never thought would last. So let them sit with it. Let them wrestle with the weight of their own choices. Because ego can't love. It can only defend. And until they learn to drop the shield, they'll keep losing what matters most. And you've already moved beyond that battlefield. Say it with me in the comments. I choose peace over pride. Let that be your anchor, your affirmation, your reminder that walking away doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Because you don't have to prove anything to someone who refused to see your value when it was right in front of them. And what's coming next? It's the final piece. The part they never saw coming. The version of you they'll never have access to again. Stay close. Let's finish this. Number 8. They're haunted by the version of you they'll never see again. You don't miss the person, you miss the access. And once that's gone, nothing feels the same. They didn't care when you left because they believed you'd always be reachable. In their mind, you were still emotionally available, still soft for them, still one message away. They thought they had time, thought they could take a little break from you, explore their distractions, silence their guilt with pride. And when they were ready, you'd be there. But what they didn't expect is that you'd change. Not just a new haircut, not just a glow-up for show. No, you evolved from the inside out. And now they're haunted by the version of you that no longer exists. The version that texted first. The version that explained, over-explained, begged to be seen, hoped for the bare minimum. The version that would have forgiven them just for showing a sliver of effort. That version is gone. And what they're left with? Memories. Memories that don't call back, that don't check in, that don't wait. At night, when the world goes quiet and the noise fades, they feel it. The ghost of your presence. The way your energy used to hold them, even when your hands didn't. The sound of your voice when they were too stubborn to ask how you were doing, but secretly hoped you'd reach out anyway. They replay it all, over and over, because they didn't realize what you were until they lost access to it. And now, it's like trying to tune into a radio station that's gone offline. The frequency doesn't exist anymore. You see, they don't miss you. They miss who you were to them. The unconditional, the understanding, the one who stayed when they didn't deserve it. They don't regret what they did as much as they regret who they did it to. Because, let's be honest, they didn't think you'd grow. They thought you'd wait, that you'd always need their closure, that you'd hold on to that unfinished story, that chapter they left wide open. But instead, you started writing a new book. One they're not in. Psychologically, this is called narcissistic injury. When someone loses control over a person they believed they could always count on to validate their self-worth. You were their emotional safety net. Not because they loved you right, but because your love made them feel worthy. Even if they couldn't return it. Even if they didn't deserve it. And when you took that energy back, when you poured it into yourself instead of them, it created a vacuum they can't fill. They try, though. Don't think they don't. They look for pieces of you in other people, in new conversations, in temporary distractions. They chase the feeling. That feeling of being seen, of being forgiven, of being loved without having to earn it. But nothing hits like the version of you they lost. And now, that absence is their new reality. And the silence, that's the part they didn't prepare for. Because you didn't just cut them off, you healed. You became unavailable, not to punish, but to protect your peace. You stopped replying, not because you were angry, but because you were no longer the same person who needed the closure. You didn't disappear. You evolved, quietly, powerfully, with grace. And now, the version of you they once knew is nothing more than a memory they can't relive. And let's be clear, you didn't change to make them miss you. You changed because you finally missed yourself more. You started showing up for the version of you that was always showing up for them. And once you started choosing you, that's when everything shifted, the roles reversed, the dynamics snapped. And now they're stuck in the very space they created. Emptiness. You're not hiding. You're not bitter. You're not playing games. You're just no longer reachable. And that's the part that hurts them the most. Not that you left, but that you're no longer accessible. You're no longer emotionally available to be drained, dismissed, or delayed. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. The loudest screams are the ones that come from silence. What if I told you that you're healing? Yes. The one you're doing quietly, without any announcements, without clapping hands, without any dramatic exits, is driving them insane. And here's the twist. They'll never admit it. Because to admit it would be to admit they lost someone who was rebuilding in silence. That's the part they can't handle. Not your pain, but your peace. Hey folks, picture this. You're in a pitch-black forest. No sound, no noise, just your footsteps. You're not running. You're walking slowly, intentionally. You're not looking back. And behind you, there's someone who once thought they'd broken you, watching, waiting for your cry, hoping to hear you scream out in pain. But you don't. You keep walking. That's what's happening right now. You're healing in silence, and they don't know how to process it. They were prepared for chaos, not calm. They were ready to see you fall apart, not glow up. They expected noise, but got your absence instead. And trust me, your absence is the loudest thing they've ever heard. My friends, silence is not weakness. It's strategy. It's emotional discipline. It's a spiritual mic drop. Most people can't handle silence because it reflects their own guilt back at them. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop reacting, you become a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see. Your stillness becomes their discomfort. That's the raw truth. You didn't go quiet to play games. You went quiet to protect your peace, to find yourself again. And now, without lifting a single finger, without sending a single text, without posting a single story, you've turned the table. You see, most folks think healing is some magical moment when you suddenly don't care anymore. No, healing is gritty. It's the nights you cry and don't tell anyone. It's deleting the number and not rewriting the message. It's wanting to speak but choosing not to. That's strength. And every time you choose silence over chaos, you become more dangerous in the best way possible. You become untouchable. Here's the lie they believe. That silence means indifference. That if you're not screaming, you must not care. But we both know the truth. Some of the deepest transformations happen in silence. Some of the biggest comebacks start when nobody's watching. While they were waiting for a reaction, you were rebuilding, quietly, silently, brick by brick. And now they're wondering where the old you went. Spoiler alert, that version of you doesn't exist anymore. Don't get it twisted. Just because you're healing in silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're focused. You're no longer entertaining chaos. You're no longer signing up to prove your worth to people who couldn't even see your value. You're done performing pain for people who caused it. That's the real power. They're out there pretending they're unbothered, posting, partying, talking like they've moved on. But inside, they're wrestling with your silence. It's echoing, it's haunting, because they don't know what's going on behind your calm. And nothing tortures the human ego more than the unknown. That's what makes your silence so lethal. You've become unpredictable, and unpredictability breeds obsession. So stay right there. Keep healing. Keep growing. And don't you dare let anyone rush your process or pull you back into their drama just to make them feel comfortable. They don't deserve access to the new you, because they never appreciated the old one. If this is resonating, I want you to comment right now. Silence is strength. Show them, show yourself, and show the world around you that your silence isn't surrender. It's strategy. Like the video, subscribe, and stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to shift everything. Number 1. Healing quietly makes you unreadable. When someone can't read you, they start rewriting the story in their own head, and that's where the chaos begins. You want to know what drives them crazy the most? It's not your absence. It's the silence that came with it. The silence you chose. Not because you had nothing to say, but because you finally realized not everyone deserves front row seats to your healing. When you're no longer shouting your pain, when you're no longer leaving breadcrumbs of heartbreak for them to find, you become unreadable. And to someone who once fed off your every emotional reaction, that's terrifying. Imagine you're a lighthouse. Once you beamed your light constantly, bright, loud, always shining, always showing them the way back to you. But now you've gone dim. You're not off. You're just not accessible. And they're lost at sea. No map, no light, no signal. That's what your silence feels like to them. They can't see what you're feeling. They can't tell if you're missing them, thinking of them, or moving on. And in that uncertainty, their mind begins to spiral. Are they okay? Are they over me? Did I even matter? The questions come like waves, and the silence, it doesn't answer. It just watches. People fear what they can't understand. They fear the unknown. And when you were reacting, arguing, explaining, posting, calling, they knew they still had a grip on your mind. But now you've become a mystery. And mystery, my friends, is magnetic. It pulls them in without saying a single word. That's the paradox they never expected. The less you say, the more they obsess. They assumed you would fall apart without them. They thought you'd stay broken just long enough for them to decide whether they missed you or not. But silence, that was your plot twist. You didn't just stop speaking. You stopped bleeding where they could see it. You stitched your wounds in the dark, quietly, strongly, and that kind of healing, it's disruptive. It doesn't feed their ego. It shatters it. But let's be honest, choosing silence isn't easy. It's not glamorous. It's not always peaceful. There will be nights when the urge to reach out burns like fire in your chest. Nights when you want to post something just so they know you're still alive, still hurting. That's normal. Because healing in silence means facing your own echoes. But every time you resist the urge to be understood by the very people who misunderstood you, you build another layer of strength. Every time you say nothing, you reclaim a piece of your peace. Here's the lie they want to believe, that your silence means you're done fighting for them. But here's the truth. They were never the war. The real battle was within you, the one between who you were and who you're becoming. And right now, as you sit quietly in that battle, you're winning. Think about it. When was the last time they saw a version of you they couldn't decode? When was the last time you held your power close instead of bleeding it out for people who left you dry? Your silence isn't just a lack of words, it's a wall. And behind that wall, you're rebuilding, rewriting, becoming. They don't know how to handle it because for the first time the story isn't about them, it's about you, and they can't stand not being the center of your emotional universe anymore. You've become unreadable, unreachable, and slowly unforgettable. So here's your reminder. Don't break your silence just to make someone else comfortable. Let them wonder, let them spiral, because in that wondering, they're finally feeling the weight of the choices they made. You're not punishing them, you're protecting yourself. And that's the shift that turns a broken heart into a bulletproof soul. If this hit home, I want you to comment right now. Silence is my power. Write it. Show them, show yourself, show the world that your peace is louder than their noise. Like this video, subscribe for more truth like this, and stay with me, because in the next part, we're going even deeper into the chaos they try to hide. Number 2. They thought you'd stay broken. They don't regret hurting you until they realize you healed without needing them. Let's get real for a second, my friends. They didn't expect you to rise. They didn't expect you to glow. They didn't expect your silence to be your comeback. You know what they expected? That you'd stay broken, that you'd crumble quietly in the background while they moved on like you never existed, that you'd sit there, miserable, waiting, hoping, watching. But here's the part that hits them hardest. You didn't. They thought the pain would break you down, not build you up. They were betting on your weakness. And let's be honest, they had reason to believe that, because once upon a time, you did everything for them. You were available. You were open. You loved with your whole chest. You gave them access to your emotions, your time, your mind. And when someone has that kind of access, they start to believe they'll always have it. They mistake your kindness for a lack of options. They see your loyalty as a guarantee, not a gift. So when you went silent, it messed with their entire blueprint. They didn't prepare for that. They thought if they pulled away, you'd come running. They thought if they ghosted you, you'd start begging. They thought they had emotional leverage, because for a while they did. But what they didn't realize was that silence isn't just a lack of sound. It's a shift in power. You didn't fall apart. You fell inward. You started building instead of breaking. You started sitting with the pain, processing the truth, and asking yourself questions you never dared ask before. Like, why did I think I needed them to begin with? Why did I let their validation define me? Why did I make myself so available to someone who treated me like an option? Those questions hurt. But they're the ones that set you free. You see, they thought heartbreak would humble you, but instead it hardened you in all the right ways. You didn't become bitter. You became better, stronger, wiser, quieter. Not because you stopped feeling, but because you started healing. And you stopped putting your healing on display for them to monitor, judge, or mock. That's the power move they never saw coming. Now they're sitting there, pretending they don't care, while secretly checking to see if you've cracked. They look at your socials hoping for clues. They ask mutual friends if you've mentioned their name. They pretend they're unbothered, while your silence is renting space in their head for free. Because here's the thing, when someone expects you to stay broken and you start evolving instead, it shatters the image they held of themselves as powerful. They're not used to this version of you, the one who doesn't reach out, the one who doesn't fight to be heard, the one who no longer needs to explain. You're not seeking closure anymore, because the silence became your closure. The disrespect became your clarity. The pain became your permission to rise. Now let me ask you something real. Why is it so hard to let go of someone who hurt you? Why do we struggle to stop hoping for that apology, that validation, that final conversation? It's because we're taught that healing needs closure. But the truth is, healing needs discipline. It needs distance. It needs silence. And that's exactly what you chose. They thought they had time to explore other options, time to circle back when they felt like it, but your silence taught them something time never could. That access to you was a privilege, not a promise, and once they lost it, they lost a version of you they'll never find again. That's the part that eats at them, but their pride won't let them say it. So don't break your silence to feed their ego. Don't answer a text just to prove you've moved on. Don't peek at their story. Don't fall into the trap of performance. Because healing isn't about being seen. It's about being free. And right now your silence is echoing louder than any message you could send. It's doing all the talking. If you feel this in your chest right now, if you're in that silent season where you're building quietly and they're watching without a clue, comment this now. I outgrew the pain. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your silence wasn't weakness. It was your rebirth. Like the video, subscribe for more truth like this, and stay with me, because next, we're digging into the real reason they can't stop watching your glow-up. Number 3. Your glow-up is happening off the radar. The most dangerous transformation is the one no one sees coming. You know what's really driving them crazy? It's not just that you're healing. It's how you're healing, off the radar, under the surface, without the need to post it, prove it, or parade it. You're not performing, you're progressing. And that, my friends, is psychological warfare wrapped in peace. See, they were prepared for a show. They were expecting you to flex your rebound, post those gym selfies, write sad captions masked as strength. They were waiting for digital breadcrumbs of your pain, but you gave them nothing. And that silence, that invisible elevation, it's messing with their mind in ways they won't admit out loud. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine someone looking through a fogged-up window, trying to see inside a house that used to be wide open to them. Lights are off, curtains drawn, no movement, no clues. That's how they feel right now. Once they had access, they knew what you were feeling, thinking, posting. But now the curtains are shut and you're renovating the entire house from the inside out, quietly, powerfully, and they have no idea what you're becoming. Here's where the dark psychology kicks in. Unpredictability breeds obsession. When people can't track your emotions, they start to imagine them. They create entire stories in their head, trying to make sense of your silence. Are they happy? Are they with someone else? Are they really over me? The less you reveal, the more they overthink. Because now you're not just someone they lost. You're a mystery. And mystery has gravity. They assumed you'd need to show off your healing. They thought you'd post to prove you're doing fine. But you're too focused for that now. You're not living for views. You're not seeking approval. You're not trying to win a silent war. You're winning by walking away from it altogether. And that's the kind of glow-up no filter can capture. Let's break a lie real quick. Healing doesn't need to be seen to be real. The world has fooled people into thinking that growth has to be visible, shared, documented, validated. But the deepest growth? It's quiet. It's private. It's done in the shadows, where no one claps for you. That's where you're living now. And they don't know how to handle it. Because every time they check for a sign of you and find nothing, it's another blow to their ego. And the more you stay off the radar, the more they feel the loss. Not because you're trying to punish them, but because you're no longer playing the role they wrote for you. You're not the heartbroken one. You're not the bitter one. You're not the one chasing. You're the one building in silence. And success built in silence hits different. And here's the twist. The more quiet you stay, the louder your absence becomes. That silence. It's a ghost that haunts them. It shows up in the places they thought they'd forget you. It shows up in the silence after the party, in the fake laughs, in the empty conversations. It's there when the new person can't match your depth, when the replacement starts to feel more like a distraction than a connection. That's when your glow-up, unseen, unshared, unspoken, starts to echo louder than any post ever could. They don't get to watch your rise. They lost that access. They thought they were walking away from you, but what they really did was walk away from the last version of you they could have known. And that version? That one's gone. You're not flexing, you're evolving. And the less you say, the more powerful you become. So don't give in to the urge to prove yourself. Don't post for attention. Don't perform your progress. Protect it. Let your silence be your spotlight. Let your discipline be the proof. Because one day they'll hear about you, not from you, but from the world. And it won't be because you shouted. It'll be because you moved in silence until your glow became undeniable. If you're in that stage where you're rebuilding off the grid, where your growth is happening behind the scenes, comment below right now. Silence is my spotlight. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that the best glow-up isn't posted. It's felt. Like this video, subscribe for more, and stay with me, because next we're going to expose the truth about how they're watching you, closer than you think. Number 4, they're watching, but will never admit it. Some people don't miss you. They miss having access to your energy. They won't say it. They'll act like they don't care, like they're over it, like you're just a chapter in a book they've already closed. But behind that fake confidence, that pretend indifference, they're watching, quietly, obsessively, secretly hoping you'll slip, that you'll show just one sign that you're still broken, still lost, still thinking about them. But what they're really seeing, a blank screen, a locked vault, a version of you they can't read anymore. They're stalking your socials like detectives in denial. Not liking, not commenting, just lurking. Refreshing your page, looking for updates, hoping to see something, anything, that tells them they still live in your mind. But you're not giving them that satisfaction. You're not posting emotional breadcrumbs. You're not leaking your healing for them to monitor. And that silence, that digital stillness, it's eating them alive. Let me tell you why this hits so hard for them. When someone has been the center of your attention, your energy, your world, and suddenly they're met with nothing but stillness, they panic. They won't show it on the outside, of course. They'll double down on their ego, post more, flex harder, pretend they're living their best life. But it's all theater, a cover. Because behind the scenes, your silence is making more noise than any angry message ever could. See, people expect closure to be noisy. They expect a scene, but you didn't give them that. You gave them a mystery, a question mark, and unanswered questions. They linger, they fester, they grow louder in the mind the longer they go ignored. Now they're stuck replaying conversations, overanalyzing your last words, wondering why you haven't reached out, why you haven't cracked, why you seem so okay. And that's the part that really messes with them. You seem okay. You seem focused. You're not posting "look at me now" photos. You're not throwing shade. You're not hinting at your pain. You're just silent. And that's what drives them crazy, because they don't know if you've moved on or if you're just moving smarter. And that uncertainty, that emotional fog, it's the punishment their pride never expected. Let's break the illusion. They're not unbothered. They're uncomfortable, because you were once predictable, emotionally accessible. Now you're unreadable. You've gone from being an open book to a locked journal. And they don't know the password anymore. That shift in energy, that refusal to perform your pain, is exactly what puts you in control. You've broken their feedback loop. You're no longer the character in their game. You're the author of your own story. and they're not invited to read it. They'll pretend they're thriving. They'll post with new people. They'll flash fake smiles. But in between those moments, they're scrolling, they're checking, they're wondering. And even if they never like another photo of yours again, even if they block you or unfollow you, don't get it twisted. They're still watching. Through burner accounts, through mutual friends, through silence. Because your healing became something they couldn't predict. And when someone loses access to what they once controlled, it haunts them. Not because they lost you, but because they lost their grip, their power, their ability to influence your emotions. And now, you've become the version of yourself they never thought you'd reach. The version that no longer needs them, that no longer feeds them with validation or closure. You've become untouchable. This is dark psychology in action. You didn't ghost them, you evolved past them. And now they're stuck watching your rise from the sidelines, with no ability to interrupt it, no insight into it, and no idea what's coming next. That's what truly tortures them. Not the silence, but the mystery inside of it. So don't break your stillness just to satisfy their curiosity. Don't trade your peace for their temporary reaction. Let them wonder. Let them wrestle with the unknown. Because every day you remain silent, you remind them that access to you was a privilege, and they lost it. If this hit deep, if you know they're watching but won't admit it, drop a comment right now. They lost access. Let the world know your silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Like this video, subscribe for more, and stay with me. Because next, we're going to talk about the one thing they can't stand. Watching you evolve while they stay exactly the same. Number 5. They lost access. Not just to you, but to your evolution. You didn't just walk away. You closed the door to a version of yourself they'll never meet again. Let's make something crystal clear. They didn't just lose you. They lost the right to witness your evolution, the glow-up, the rebuild, the transformation that's been happening in silence, brick by brick, in the shadows. And that's what's burning them from the inside. Not just that you're gone, but that they no longer get to see what you're becoming. They had access, front row seats, VIP passes to your soul. You gave them vulnerability, love, loyalty, the kind that doesn't show up every day. But they didn't treat it like a gift. They treated it like a guarantee. And now, that access is revoked. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, but because you've changed, and people who treated you like you were disposable don't get a backstage pass to your rebirth. Imagine this, my friends. You're a garden. For the longest time, they walked through it like it was theirs, trampling the flowers, ignoring the beauty, plucking what they wanted. But one day, the gates closed. You started planting deeper roots. You watered in silence. No photos, no announcements, just growth. And now the flowers are blooming behind walls they can't peek over. And that realization that they can't get back in is what's driving them insane. You see, they expected you to stay frozen in the place they left you. They thought you'd be stuck in replay mode, stuck in heartbreak, stuck in pain. But healing, real healing, doesn't look how people expect it to. It doesn't come with big declarations or dramatic posts. It comes with distance, with discipline, with deciding that your evolution doesn't need their validation, that your growth isn't their entertainment. And this is where the pain hits them, because while you were transforming, they were relaxing. They thought you'd always be an option, but now they don't even get a notification. They don't know your thoughts. They don't know your progress. They don't know your peace. And that silence, it's louder than any speech you could have given. Let's break the biggest lie here, that people only regret losing you when you're doing better with someone else. No. The real regret comes when they realize you're doing better by yourself, when they see that you didn't need a replacement to evolve, that your power came from within, not from proving anything to anyone. And here's where the evolution cuts deep. You're not trying to get their attention anymore. You're not checking if they've noticed. You're not building for show. You're building for yourself, quietly, completely, consistently. And every step you take away from who you were when they had access is another reminder to them that they can never go back, because you're not who you were. And the door they walked out of doesn't exist anymore. That's what makes your growth so painful to them. You didn't broadcast it. You didn't beg them to witness it. You didn't ask for applause. You just disappeared and leveled up in silence. And that evolution, it's haunting them, because they remember who you were, but they'll never get to meet who you've become. They're stuck with a memory, and memories don't evolve. But you did. And that's what stings. That while they stayed the same, still playing games, still chasing ego boosts, you became more. And the worst part, they're not even allowed to congratulate you anymore. That privilege is gone, because you don't owe them updates. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them anything. So don't feel guilty for shutting the door. Don't feel bad for protecting your peace. Let them deal with the loss of watching you rise from the ashes they left you in. Let them choke on the silence you now wear like armor. If you're evolving quietly, if you've shut the door on people who once had the best of you, drop this in the comments. Access denied. Let them know. Let the world know. And most importantly, remind yourself that your peace, your progress, and your power are no longer up for grabs. Like this video, subscribe for more truth like this, and stay with me. Because next,